So we carried out a workshop on the PANORAMA platform, which is a platform which provides solutions, best practices, and that was the objective of our workshop, to present this platform. For us, it was the most important thing that we presented the first time this platform in a GTZ expert context, because the platform was launched only September last year, and our intention was to know the feedback from GTZ colleagues on this platform. It was in general a very positive feedback on the platform, and there were interest from colleagues to provide solutions or best practices to put on the platform, and other colleagues were interested to seek for solutions on the platform. So that was a very good result for us, that the overall feedback was very positive. Decision, there were suggestions from the participants to improve some things on the platform, the seek for search functions, for examples, and there were suggestions to put more portals on the platform. Currently there are 3 portals, a 4th one on sustainable agriculture is planned, but there were suggestions on value chain portals or forests. So that were suggestions which we take home and discuss with our partners with which we organize a platform.
One of the most important issues that we discussed in the mini workshop was that agriculture can continue to provide the needed jobs. And for us to be able to do that, we need to get into partnerships and alliances with key institutions and other partners. Even though looking into the future, we are going to see changes, but those changes are not going to be quick enough. And therefore, agriculture will continue to be important in terms of providing the jobs for the youth of Africa. And for us to get the scale and produce the huge numbers of jobs that we need, partnerships with the private sector, with key institutions on the continent, for example, the African Development Bank, will be very important. One important perspective which shaped the discussion of this issue was a presentation from a specific value chain, a regional cashew value chain project, and the work which has been done in terms of analyzing the numbers and showing the number of jobs which can be created along the value chain, in production, in trade, and also in processing. And that opened up the immense opportunities which exist to use a value chain approach within a specific commodity to provide the jobs. Out of this, one of the key things that the group decided on was to address this question of methodology. To look, for example, do a joint analysis of the job creation potential of specific value chains and agree on the methodology, which could then lead into a capacity building intervention. And that, when shared across different GIZ programs and different bilateral programs, becomes a very important product which adds value to the work that we do in our different programs.
We had a workshop about digital solutions to be used for youth employment in Africa. The workshop was about different information and communication technologies that we can use in GIZ to promote youth employment, especially in rural areas. This is very important because the amount of young people living in rural Africa is increasing, and secondly, agriculture is still the remaining income source for many young people, so we combine both. We had 3 different perspectives in our workshop. One was an example from Nigeria, one was an example from Tunisia, and one was an example from Ghana. All 3 presenting ICT examples from different fields. One was the 3D videos used for good agricultural practices. One was the promotion of women empowerment and through a application that is called plant ticks to identify diseases, plant diseases. And the third one was the application Rice Advice that is used to improve the rice value chain. Throughout our workshop, we decided that there's a very strong need to better communicate in GIZ about ICT solutions, and that's why we decided to create a community of practice for ICT in agriculture.
Within our working group, which was on food security and nutrition, we discussed the pertinence of multi-sectoral approaches, and within this context, the complexity of how to work with different institutions that are relevant to food security or nutrition, how to get them to work together and how to become more efficient at addressing within the multi-sectoral context these questions of food security and nutrition. The multi-sectoral approaches are important so that we get traction on addressing nutrition and food security issues, and which will make line ministries or different ministries to work together so that we have a reduction in the malnutrition rates that we have presently, which is about 160 million stunted children in the developing world. Within the discussion around the working group, we broke up into 3 groups. There was one group that worked on how does agriculture can be used to address nutrition. The second group was how to can wash be used to address nutrition. And lastly, we had a very interesting working group which was looking at natural resource management and how to address nutrition, which is a kind of a novel aspect where one of the aspects was basically land use patterns, using biodiversity, and also looking at ownership of the land and how to get people to have even the productive means to produce and to have a good self-sufficient nutrition. Within GIZ, there's not even a multi-sectoral groups approach. We do have sector-specific working groups. There's not much interaction between Africa and Asia. And at the same time, also, we work in silos, and health doesn't talk to agriculture. So that was one of the feelings within the group where there's need to get more unified. The second aspect was also that there's no unified impact assessment system within the SEVO program, and there might be need to look at more unified global indicators across the program.
Biodiversity is the underlying basis of all agricultural productivity, and therefore also biodiversity, and therefore also food security. And we also recognize that actually on the international level and even in country strategies, that's also acknowledged. Only the implementation is lacking. We discussed that the main problem is that governments as well as GIZ projects actually do operate in silos, and one silo being the agricultural community, the other one being the conservation community. There's too little exchange about really the value and the value of nature for agricultural production and food security. We had some good examples where this was bridged, and we're able to discuss what were success factors in these examples and how we could possibly use them in other contexts as well. We didn't decide on specific actions, but we did recognize that there is a need to further exchange on the topic, to further exchange between the biodiversity community and the agricultural community about the role of biodiversity for food security, and to really develop arguments that resonate with both sides and can highlight that biodiversity is necessary and important as an underlying basis for human well-being.